Good day to you, students. I hope you guys are doing well during this period of social distancing. Today what we're going to be working on is the Africa DBQ. And what DBQ means, again, we've gone over this once before, but DBQ means document-based question. The other name you might hear it called by is data-based question. This is not merely a question to test your knowledge on the subject, but also to test your ability to be able to use primary sources and documents to help you compose a good argument for the question. So, the entire scope and vision, the overall topic of our DBQ on Africa is Africa before the arrival of Europeans. So knowing the general topic of the DBQ now brings us to our main focus question. What were the achievements of the African empires, kingdoms, and cities before the arrival of Europeans? And remember, when we do this question, we need to both explain and evaluate the achievements of these peoples. So at the first glance of our document-based question, we see that we have a set of 8 different documents to study. 2 of those documents are maps, and 6 of those documents are text passages for us to analyze. That being said, in order for us to get full credit, we need to make sure that we highlight and analyze and make notes on every single one of the 8 documents. Now it's time for us to look deeper into each individual document. First, we have document 1. And document 1 is showing a map of the trade routes in and out of the city of Axum. Axum is a city that is now in modern-day Ethiopia. If we look a little bit further at this map, we can analyze it by comparing and contrasting it to the trade routes that we put on our earlier maps. Also, make sure to note some of the empires that are near it. Furthermore, make sure to take a look at the geographical features, such as the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. So looking at document 2, we can see that it's a text passage for us to analyze. And if we look closer, we can see that it tells us that it's written by the Arab scholar al-Bakri. Now something to know about al-Bakri is al-Bakri was an Iberian Arab, meaning he had been born and raised in Spain, so he may have some implicit biases. But if we look at this passage, we know that one thing is for sure. He talks about the Kingdom of Ghana as being an important trading empire, and he mentions gold 4 different times. So when looking deeply at document number 3, we see that it does not give us who the exact author is. Instead, what it tells us is exactly what it's going to talk about, and that's the wealth of the Kingdom of Ghana. In the first paragraph, it mentions really 2 key things. First, the trade routes across the empire. Second, it mentions the role of Ghana's military and the way in which they enforce their rules. Finally, when you jump down to the second paragraph, you see that it talks about more complex things in terms of their society. Surpluses of food, taxes, social organization, things of that nature. So when you're answering these questions, make sure to address those issues. So document number 4 is about the Mali Empire's king, Mansa Musa. His name literally translates to King of Kings, and he was the wealthiest man in the world's history. So beyond that, this particular passage focuses on what an Egyptian official has to say about Mansa Musa. And this is during the period in which Mansa Musa is traveling on the Hajj, which is his pilgrimage across the Arab world to go to the city of Mecca. Okay, so really think about that as you answer the question, what about Mansa Musa impressed the Egyptian official? So now we're going to move on to document number 5, and document number 5 comes from the perspective of a Moroccan traveler, and this Moroccan traveler's name is Leo Africanus. He's going to describe the city of Timbuktu, and if we go back to the last passage that we just looked at in document number 4, we can see that Timbuktu is part of the Mali Empire, and that's where Mansa Musa was from. So see how you could relate that. As you look through this passage, he talks about doctors, judges, priests, and he talks about other learned and scholarly men. So consider that when you're answering this question. What was he most impressed about? Document number 6 talks about a traveler through Mali in 1352, and what it focuses on is 2 major things. Make sure you focus in on the concepts of justice as well as the concept of security. So document number 7 is interesting that it completely goes a different direction than all the other documents, and it focuses in on African art. And it talks about the description of a process in which they create little bronze figurines. And these figurines, when you're looking at this, make sure you consider what materials did they use, what processes did they have to go through to make these things, and how does that show them to be an advanced ancient empire? Document number 8 is interesting because it's the same author as document number 6. And if you look closer, you can see that it's a map and it shows you certain natural resources and how they were brought to the small city-state of Kilwa. So as you're looking over this document, when you're going to answer the questions, make sure to take notice of both the sea routes as well as the land routes on the map. Now we've come to the part where we actually want to build an outline to answer our DBQ question. Start off with the introduction paragraph and use some quick facts to kind of give people an interest in what your topic's about. So now you've reached the process of writing your thesis statement. And just like we practiced before in class, you might want to start off by restating the question that was asked of you. You might consider saying something like, before the arrival of Europeans, African empires achieved complex trade management, intricate art, and immense wealth. And then use your body paragraphs to explain those arguments. So now you've reached the part where you're outlining your body paragraphs. This is where you should use the supporting evidence that you've gathered from the documents in the document-based question. This will help you refine your answer. Now you're writing the conclusion of your outline. Just restate your thesis.